Good day, whatever time of day it is where you are right now, welcome. I'm sincerely glad to have you with us. This is June 10th, 2016, and here on Blab it is Focus Friday. Today we're looking at the concept of visualization and how it can help you keep focused on your objectives. As usual, all comments, questions, issues, and critiques are appreciated. Feel free to post in the chat bar on the side, where topical discussion is also welcome. Post your links, promotions, and or contact information there too. I'm happy to share that space with you, so go ahead and promote yourself. For those who don't know me, my name is Steve, and I'm known by many online as the WordPress Wizard. I've also been called the Coach's Coach and the Web Guy for Coaches. I'm the founder of wizardsplace.com, and you can contact me through that site or by email, and I've posted my information in the sidebar already. As a published author, WordPress instructor, and online presence developer, I earn my entire living right here on the web, mostly by helping others to do the same. I work with people just like you who need a little help moving their business forward, who need to expand their marketing reach, or who are serious about developing a successful online presence so they can work less and earn more. I'm experienced, approachable, and affordable, and the first half-hour consultation is always free. So why not contact me today and begin your journey from website to wealth? And I want to share just on that last line that wealth is different things for different people. Part of what we're talking about in this series has to do with developing and staying focused on your own goals and objectives. And for some people, that is looking for wealth. Wealth could be financial, or it could be in other areas. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go forward. I want to share a little bit from a book that I'm reading, which it's just a paragraph that stood out for me. And it really applies, I think, to what we're talking about and probably what we're all seeking in many ways. But I think it brings into focus something that a lot of people overlook. So I'll just read this paragraph. It's one or two sentences. It's not very much at all. It simply says, generating an online passive income won't happen overnight and takes a lot of hard work, but going through the process is completely worth it, and having an exact plan of action is the best and only way to ensure success. I'm going to read that again. Generating an online passive income won't happen overnight and takes a lot of hard work, but going through the process is completely worth it, and having an exact plan of action is the best and only way to ensure success. Absolutely true. I've lived it. I know that this is where it's at. And so many people are afraid of the hard work. They just seem to feel that they can do it in some quick, easy way, some gimmick, some magic formula, the latest blueprint or strategy for your success. And I've had people come to me and say, gee, I've literally spent hundreds or thousands of dollars on these programs that are supposed to make me successful, and they don't. What am I doing wrong? Okay. I had one fella come to me one time and say, I've heard you, I've listened to you. How much money are you making? Because I want to make millions of dollars, and if you're not already making that, then how can you teach me how to do it? So he went on his way, and he's still looking. It's really too bad. So we're talking about some important issues here, and I call this Focus Friday, and it really is about getting focused, bringing your own plans into focus, bringing your own goals and objectives into focus, and we're going to work with those going forward here. So I want to deal with just a couple of quick things to get us started. First of all, I'm here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Motivational Mondays, starting next Monday, is a long series that I'm developing and already deep into it, and it's on the law of attraction. And the law of attraction is pretty much foundational to everything we do in life. It's not some gimmick or get-rich-quick scheme or anything else. It is truly a law of the universe. And for many, many years, just misunderstood, bunch of quacks. You know, if you paid any attention to it, you were one of those quacks. And it's starting now that the quantum physicists, the real science guys that are pushing the envelope, are starting to realize, hey, wait a minute, there's something to all this. And you know, we're getting into the era now where, you know, alchemy is no longer some crazy thing. You can actually change lead into gold. We've got the capability to do it. You know, in a laboratory, you can literally change the molecular structure of lead and produce gold. The problem is it costs more than the gold is worth. So, you know, it's just not something that you're going to do, but it can be done. So alchemy, you know, something to be, you know, sciences are starting to become something that is being looked at seriously. So I have been interested in and followed the law of attraction in my life probably since I was about 14 years old. And I've applied it very successfully. So I'm going to share what I know. I think I know some things that many others don't. I'm going to point out some things that I think are wrong in a lot of the teachings, and I'm going to show you how the law of attraction is working for you right now, even if you don't believe in it. And it may come as quite a surprise. So that's Motivational Monday starting next week, and it'll be a series of weeks that will cover this material, and I don't think you want to miss it. I'm here Wednesday. That's WordPress Wednesday. That's another area of my passion. I work with WordPress. It's the more practical thing that I do. And I really love WordPress. I've been around the internet since before it was public. Somebody actually asked me this morning, how long have you been blogging? And when I told her I actually started my first online journal on my own bulletin board system in 1989, she just about fell over because I don't think she was born yet. Yeah, it's quite the thing. And so I've been blogging a long time. I've been on the internet for a long time. And I've built an awful lot of websites, some of them from scratch, some of them using other systems, and I'm just in love with WordPress. So if I seem a little bit, you know, wonky about it, it's okay. It's a great product. And then we're here Fridays, just like today. This is our Focus Friday, and we try to focus on different topics. Right now, we're going through a 10-part series. This is week 2. On basically the chapters or the titles of the chapters of my book, Wiz's 10 Steps to Staying Focused on Your Objectives. And today's is visualization, and we'll get right into the meat of that very quickly here. But first, let me share this with you. I'm going to post this in the sidebar. Most of you here, I think everybody here already knows this, but for others coming along, I'll just get it posted. And this is the way to post a question. If you put a / followed by a Q and a space, a slash, immediately a Q, then a space, and then type your question, it'll show up in the sidebar just like any other sidebar post, except it will have the blue cue ball that you can see there, which makes it a little easier for an old guy like me to spot it and deal with it as it comes up through the chat line there. And I also like to share a Facebook group and a free book or two, and the odd paid book as we get into this. So here's the Facebook group. And this one, a little different, little interesting, very strict. They don't allow self-promotion or a lot of link sharing and so on. So if you do have a look at this group and you think it might be for you, please follow the rules. It always helps to do that. I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to self-promotion, even affiliate links. I really don't see anything wrong with that. I don't see it as spamming if you're coming into the group and participating, and then you want to tell people who you are and what you do and where they can find you and what you're offering. I think that's part of the conversation. Some group moderators, though, they don't like that kind of stuff. I was in a group the other day, and they had, 42,000 rules there of all the things you can't do, which included posting links or sharing commercial information, or even if your blog had advertisements on it, you weren't allowed to post it. It went down this long, long list of stuff, and then at the bottom it said, except for Sally, just to use a name, who's the blog moderator, This is her blog, and she can post whatever she wants. Cool. Okay. But this one here is called Writers Bloggers Network, and it's a place for people who write or blog. And if you're in business online, you should be writing and blogging. There's benefit to all of that. And so this is a good place to share some ideas on that, to get some ideas on that. I read through some of the posts this morning, and there's some information there that gave me a couple of ideas for blog posts. So if you're on the lookout for anything like that, this is a good place to go. And if you've got something to share on topic, you'll find some very interested people there. So that's worth taking a look at. The next one I've got is a free ebook. I try to do that every week if I can. And this one is called Affirmations and Creative Visualization. Now, in particular, we're going to get into affirmations in another session, but this deals it in consort with creative visualization, which is really what we're talking about today. And in truth, if you go through my ebook, you really want to read it through once quickly. It's 42 pages. About a third of that is front matter that you can skip over if you need to, although it does set the tone and cover some interesting updated information. There's a foreword to the second edition, which brings my experience up to date, or pretty close up to date. But the content of itself, the 10 chapters, are very short, very quick reads, nothing difficult. It's designed that way so you can get through it quickly and get that whole concept in your head. And then start focusing on the individual things that we're covering today, because you do want to understand each one with clarity, but you want to apply them either all together or at least in groups of things. They don't function well in a vacuum. You should be applying this across your life and your business in the variety of things you do, and working with them in concert. So this book does kind of bring some of that into perspective, and it's free on Amazon today anyway. So you may want to check it out. And if you don't have a Kindle app, if you don't have a Kindle, you can get a Kindle app that will let you read it on any of your smart devices. And there's the link to the Kindle app. I want to share something else here because I've been promoting this, and it is an affiliate link, just to show that I allow affiliate links in the sidebar. I'll post one of my own. But this is Webinar Geo. It's a new webinar platform. It's not a WordPress plugin or anything like that. It's a third-party service, but it's a full webinar service. And these guys that have put it together, it's Walt Bayliss and company. They've really done a good job on that. They're the people that brought out the Hangout plugin, which tied Google Hangouts into WordPress in a webinar structure with countdowns and timers and mailing lists and all that stuff. That was a plugin. It later became RunClick because Google gave a hassle over the name. And they learned an awful lot about the whole process from that, but they recognized some pretty severe limitations and perhaps even failings in Hangouts. And the biggest failing in the commercial offerings that are out there, like GoToWebinar and such, was the huge price. So they have put together a package, a service, a full webinar service that really delivers the features and is an affordable price. And they brought out a launch with a reduction in price, as companies often do on a launch, and then they've upped the price last Monday. But even at the increased price, they're still considerably cheaper than their competition, and they deliver quite a bit more. So they deliver all the usual things you expect, and then they deliver more. And their product is unlimited in the sense of seats and webinars. You can run as many webinars as you want for the one price, and you can seat as many people as you want at the webinar, whereas a lot of the competing products limit you. GoToWebinar starts at 100 people I don't know how you can run a webinar with a limit of 100 people. What have we got? 3 people in the gallery here, 6 people have been through, and a few people may be watching this on other methods that don't show up in the numbers. So we've got a very small number here. What am I talking about? 100 isn't enough. But you can get a webinar, and if you're advertising it, promoting it, doing some things, and it's an attractive topic, you can get easily several hundred people signing up for a webinar, and you can find that you can't get everybody in. The GoToWebinar pricing for the 100 limit exceeds the pricing, the regular pricing for the Webinar Geo by quite a bit, a few $100s a year. So it really is worth looking at this product. But if you click that link today, and it was working fine when I looked at it a little while ago, so I've talked to Walt about this. If you click that link today, you can still find the launch pricing. So if you know, and now you're kind of wishing on that link, I hope. So if you wait and you do it tomorrow, it may not be there. But for now it is, and Walt said I can share that, and he's going to remove it very shortly, and it'll be the regular pricing that's out everywhere else. So that's out there. I just want to share that with you. Let's get into today's material then, and kind of jump into this and have a look at what's going on, because the way above what other people are doing. I'm not sharing something new. I didn't, invent a new mousetrap or a new widget. This is really basic stuff. It's everybody kind of stuff. You're going to read some of it and you're going to say, I know that. That's obvious. Yeah. But are you applying it? That's the key to it. And are you applying it together, all of these 10 points? If you bring these 10 points into your life and your procedures and your practices, you will find things start to happen. Whether you believe in it or not, whether you figure it out or not, it doesn't matter. If you do it, it's going to happen. It's just that basic. There's a copy of my book. It's a PDF. File, you can click, it's right there, and that's the book that we are referring to in this material, but I'm also expanding on it a little bit. Now, a very good friend of mine, an associate, Charlene Burke, runs a session on Blab here as well. She was on this morning. I think she's on every day of the week, but I'm honestly not sure about that. It's too early for me. I'm a strong believer in that old adage that the early worm gets taken by the bird. I think most people say it in a different way, but if you think about it, it's the early worm that gets taken by the bird. So I tend to sleep in. I do work late in the night, usually till about 4 a.m., so there's a reason for me sleeping in. I'm not just lazy. But I missed Charlene's show mostly. I caught the tail end of it today, and she's talking about a book by Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone, two of the really the foundation cornerstones of the whole New Thought movement and the idea of positive thinking and positive mental attitude. And this book is called Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. And so she's working on that through this program and of her own, on her own Blab, and it's a good book. So I'm just going to post a link here. That will get you a copy of this book if you want it. It is also a PDF posted in here. I'm having a little trouble with the chat thingy here. Let's see this. here. That should do it. And that's a link to a downloadable PDF copy of the book. It's free. That's about a 300-page book. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't read a lot of 300-page books. I've started a lot of 300-page books. I had a 300-page book on procrastination once, and I just never got around to finishing it. But you know, it's an awful lot of reading to sit down and read a 300-page book. This is a very good one, and if you can do that, and you do that kind of thing, and you can read it in small chunks, this is a good one to do. But I have found that a lot of the good material is distilled down into 40, 50, 60-page ebooks that are available today, and you can skim through those really quickly. And I think that makes a lot of difference in your ability to pick up a whole concept. So that's the kind of thing that I'm generally writing, usually 120 pages or less. I push them to about 140 if I'm going to print them out in a paper copy, because you just need that many pages to get a good binding around it. You know, I tend to want to get it down in simple points. And the point we're talking about today is visualization. And if you look in the chapter in the book, and I loosely call them chapters, it's hardly long enough to be an essay. It makes a couple of simple points, and then it gives a couple of examples, and that's it. And you should be able to extrapolate from that what's going on and what you're doing. But the key here is that if you are going to have goals, if you're going to build a plan, and we're going to talk about those things later on, first you need to dream. You need to get some kind of an idea going. And a dream has to be converted into a goal at some point. You have to distill it down and create that goal and then put the plan in place. And you've heard me say many times, set your goal in concrete and draw your plans in the sand. And we'll talk a lot about that. I had a couple people contact me and they said, what do you really mean by that? I don't understand. And I'm going to go into that in detail in a couple of weeks. But for now, just keep that in mind. Set your goal in concrete and your plans in sand. Most of you will figure that out, understand what I mean by that. But to get to that point, before you can even pour that concrete, you have to visualize that dream, visualize the goal, visualize what it is you want. And that's where you need to start, and it's where most people go wrong. They visualize the wrong thing. And I use a good example there that many people will be familiar with. If you're trying to lose weight, hi Barb, welcome, glad you joined us. If you're trying to lose weight, you often get a picture of a fat person and put them on your refrigerator, saying, you know, that's not what I want. There's a fat person. If I eat food in that fridge, I'll be fat like that. And you're trying to lose weight. And what you're doing is you're reinforcing the idea of being fat. And we're going to talk a little bit about the subconscious mind. I'll get much more into the subconscious mind in the law of attraction sections, because that's where it really comes into play. But your subconscious mind doesn't know what you want or don't want. It doesn't know what's right or what's wrong. It only knows what you feed it. So if you feed it a picture of a fat person every time you go to eat, it simply does everything it can to make you choose foods that will make you fat. That's the way the subconscious mind works. And so you really want to put a picture of your end goal, the person that represents what you want to look like. And the more realistic that is to where you think you can get to be, even if it's an intermediate goal, the more realistic that is, the more your subconscious will be able to work on that and get you there. So you want to visualize what it is you want. And in my book, I tell the story of the young fellow that wanted to buy a Ferrari. And this is actually a true story. I know his parents. They're very successful business people, and he had a very positive upbringing and understood the idea of visualization and positive attitude. And he was building his own business and working towards his future success. And he decided that he really loved Ferraris and he wanted this car. And so he got a copy of Road and Track magazine that had this beautiful red Ferrari on the cover. I've seen the actual cover, and just a beautiful car. And he said, I want that. And he cut that car out and he put that up where he could see it every day, several times a day. And he looked at that and thought, that's me driving that car. He visualized himself driving that car down the roads. Lived in Seattle, some curving roads there in the mountains and so on, not too far from where he lives. And he just visualized himself enjoying driving that car. And he could smell the, you know, the real leather upholstery and all the neat stuff. The tight shift lever and different things that just made that car superb. And I've never owned a Ferrari, but I did look at one time in a dealer showroom, and my mom almost bought it, actually. I talked her out of it. It wasn't the kind of car my mom should have had. You know, I know what they're like, and they're just beautifully well-made cars. So he visualized himself in that, and he worked hard, and he worked harder because of his goal, because of his dream, and he set money aside, and he saved, and he got to the point where he knew he had enough money to order the car, and he ordered the car, and they have a long delivery cycle. There aren't a lot of them sitting around in car lots that you can go and buy pick one and drive away with it that day. You got to wait for it. So he was still earning some of the money, and they called him from the dealership. He lived in Seattle. The dealership was in Los Angeles, and they told him that his car was in. And he made arrangements to fly down, and actually he and his dad flew down together, and they were going to drive back in the car. And so they got down there to the dealership, and they had to wait. They sat in a waiting room there, and of course it was a little better than your usual waiting room, considering the nature of the dealership and the cars that they sell and the price tag. But nonetheless, it was a waiting room, and they had to wait and wait. It got a little bit long, and they were getting kind of worried. And finally, the sales manager came in to talk to them, and he said, there's been some kind of a mix-up. We were supposed to have this car available and ready for you today, and all the paperwork tells me that it is, but it isn't. We can't locate it. It apparently never arrived, and there's a real problem. And I got to tell you, the kid was just devastated because of that, thinking that he was going to have to buy a ticket and fly back to Seattle without his car. And, it was really a problem. But the sales manager said, well, look, we've got a car here that's the make and model that you want, but it's not quite new. And, if you're interested in that, if you really want the car today, I can do a really good price on it for you. And so the kid kind of said, what do you mean not quite new? And the guy said, well, we had it in as a showroom car, and a company borrowed it to do a photo shoot with it. And they took it and put a few miles on it and took some pictures around and brought it back to us as we agreed. And so it isn't quite a new car, and we can give you a really good price on it. And the kid asked, well, who was it that was taking the pictures? And he said, it was a photographer for Road and Track magazine. It was a cover car a few months back. It turned out it was the exact same car that was on the cover that he had cut out, posted up, and was visualizing. And he ended up with that car. Now, that's a rare story. You don't have to believe it if you don't. You've probably heard different versions of it because these things get tossed around. But I do know the parents of the kid, and I've met him, and I heard the story through the parents originally. I'm probably embellishing it a little bit, and when you tell it, you'll embellish it a little bit. But the basic structure of it is exactly right. He believed, and he visualized, and he ended up with the car he wanted. So I think that is important to keep in mind, that whatever it is that you're after, you want to visualize clearly. Now, I'm going to share another book with you, and I think that you might want to read this book. It may not be of the kind of thing you're interested in. It's I don't want to call it a horror story, but it's a reality story. It predates Stephen King, but it's perhaps got a little bit of a Stephen Kingish touch to it, and I'm going to share it with you. It's called The Monkey's Paw, and it is a classic that speaks to the issue of being careful what you ask for. It's the old three-wish concept, and how we can wish for things that we really don't understand. We don't wish for the right thing. And there's all kinds of jokes and stories around on that. This is a dramatic story, which I think is worth reading to get into your mind. It's a free PDF copy as well, so you're good to go. But you want to be careful what you wish for when you're visualizing the things that you think that you want. You want to be sure that you want it, and you want to understand what it is you want. Many people want to want something, but they don't really want it. They're not prepared for what they think they want. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, I want to share with you the idea of coming to terms and understanding what it is you really want. We often talk in general terms. Well, I want to be rich. I want money. These kinds of things, without ever bothering to understand or bothering to think it through, what we want money for, what we want to do, how we're going to live, the things that are going to impact our lives. And so people get really excited about the fact that they've bought lottery tickets, and they sit around the TV watching the numbers drop, and oh my God, they won $1 million or $100 million, and that's cool. And if we look at those winners, we find out that they wanted to win. They felt they deserved to win. Immediately after they won, they're very, very happy and excited, and it's going to change their lives. And if we look at them a year or two later, we find them broke, destitute, struggling. Sometimes they still have money, but they're not happy. They've broken up their family, a variety of different things. Mostly, we see negativity coming from their win. And that's sad, because that win should have supported success. It should have supported happiness. It should have supported growth. And it doesn't. And we can see that over and over and over again, because they weren't prepared for it. They didn't think what they were going to do. Oh, I'm going to buy a new home. I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to give my favorite aunt some money. I'm going to help my mom out. But they didn't think it through. And they didn't know what they really wanted, what they really wanted to do. And they didn't visualize it properly. So we pay a price when we don't do that. And I really think that it's very important that you understand going into this, that this kind of stuff can be dangerous. It can give you not the wrong answers. It always gives you the right answers, but they can be the wrong answers for you. So take the time to read The Monkey's Paw, and you'll understand a little bit about what I'm talking about. I did mention earlier that the 10 steps in my book work best when they work together. It's an easy book to read, and I've posted a link there to it, Wiz's 10 Steps. You can get a copy if you don't already have one, if you haven't already read it. I've pushed it out there to a lot of places, so you may already have one, you may have read it. But you want to take those 10 points and work with them together, and visualization is a key foundational element of that. So you want to be visualizing the right thoroughly, and you want to be sure that is in fact what you want. You're visualizing what you want. Once you get that pinned down, that's when you set your goals in concrete. If you know what you want and you visualize that, and it is indeed what you want, then you put that goal in concrete so that you don't ever change it. Now, you may surpass it and set new goals, but that goal doesn't get changed. That's what you want if you're sure about it. See, that's the problem. Most people set a goal without being sure about it, and a few days later they think, well, that's not really exactly what I want. They changed their goal. They shouldn't have set the goal in the first place. You set goals when you know, when you're confident that that's what you want. And then you'll be able to work towards those goals. And you draw the plans in sand. That's because plans change. Everything's working out fine, and you get a new puppy, and the family changes. Everything's working out fine, and that kid that went to college and started working loses their job and says, Mom, can I come home? And it changes things. So you have to change your plans to suit what it is you're doing. You have to replan to accommodate the things that happen in your life, but you don't change your goal. You may set the date for the goal a little further out because it's going to take longer now. Or maybe some good things happen in support of that goal and you can move that date in closer. Wow, that's cool. But you've got to keep that goal set before you and then change the plans to get there if they don't work out. Now, if you're thinking it through properly and you're doing the proper visualization, you'll start to understand what it's going to take. You know, Dr. Schuller, Dr. Robert Schuller, the pastor at the Crystal Cathedral, started out as a small town preacher, and he expanded. He wanted to bring in a lot of people, so he rented a drive-in theater, and he got a hookup there so he could put a microphone and a pulpit at the front of the drive-in theater on a stage, and people could come in the cars on Sunday morning and take the speakers from the drive-in, you know, that they would use when they watched the movie, and they would be able to hear him present the sermon and hear the choir sing and all that thing through the speakers as they gathered in there. That was how he could bring more people, because he couldn't afford a bigger church. So he figured out what would work. But while he was doing that, he was planning something spectacular. He knew he wanted an even bigger church and a bigger congregation. And so he hired an architect to draw up plans, and he had, figured out what was the most beautiful cathedral that he could produce, and it ended up being the Crystal Cathedral. And the architect came with these fabulous plans, and he said, yes, that's exactly what I want. And if you know the Crystal Cathedral at all, you know that it has a section on one side of it that actually opens up these. It's a big glass tower, and these big glass walls actually open to the parking lot where cars can park, just as they did in the old drive-in theater, and be part of the goings-on inside of the cathedral, which seats, I don't know how many hundred or how many thousands of people inside, but it's huge. And it's all made of glass structure, all these panels, and Dr. Schuller was trying to figure out how he could ever afford it. And, he thought, well, I need whatever this price is, a couple of, I don't know what the price was at the time, but it was a huge number of millions of dollars necessary to build this structure. And here he was preaching from the parking lot of a drive-in theater. But he thought, look at all these glass panels. There's all these glass panels. And he looked at the architectural plans and found out how many glass windows made up this place. And he said, well, if I need $1 million for this, whatever the number was, it was dozens of millions, I don't know, hundreds of, I'm not sure what it was, but it was a lot of money. Even at the time, it was, when money was real money, it was a lot of money. And he thought, if I need, this price, I could get one person to donate this amount of money, but I don't know that person. So if I needed $1 million, I could get 4 people to donate $250,000 each. Or I could get 100 people to donate $10,000 each. See, now it was starting to get down to doable numbers. And he counted the glass windows, or he looked at the number, looked it up in the plans, and he realized that the number of glass windows multiplied by whatever the number was, perhaps $1,000, was exactly the amount of money they needed to the cathedral. So what he did is he put out there that, if you've been to our sermons, if you are part of what we're doing, or if you want to be part of what we're doing, if you buy a window for $1,000, we'll put your name on that window, that it's yours, that you donated. And every window in the place will have a donator for it, and we'll raise the money for what's there. He found a plan that would work after several scrubbed attempts. His goal was the same, but he eventually found the plan that worked for him, and indeed the Crystal Cathedral was built. Now, he's passed away, and his son took over the ministry, and his son was great but didn't have the passion that he did, and problems came up and different things happened, and the building has since sold to others a couple of times, and it's no longer the same feeling. But the building of it, the creating of it, was the work of setting a goal in concrete and drawing plans in the sand and visualizing, truly visualizing what was necessary. So this is a little bit of kind of motivational stuff here. The whole visualization concept is about your motivation, and that's where it starts. You get the idea, you get that concept that you're going to go with. You have to visualize it, visualize the whole thing. Those of you who are watching live here today, and those who watch this through the replay, you have something that you're doing in your life. Many of us have many things that we're doing in our lives, but we have one primary thing perhaps that's there. For some of us it's business, for some of us it's family. It varies on what it is, and it might be something in the community. It might have to do with our faith, but we have one or more key elements that we want to develop and plan. And so the thing you need to do is visualize where you want to be. Visualize the purpose, the goal, the extent of it, and get in a real visualization. And we'll talk about other things you can do to solidify that in coming weeks. But understand the things that you need to make it happen. Understand the things that you want to be part of it. Visualize the item, the occurrence, the nature of what you're doing, and then visualize the things around it as well. Visualize that car that you want and visualize yourself driving it. Visualize other passengers in the car. Who are you going to give rides to? Is that car going to take your kids to school? Is it a practical car for that? Do you need a vehicle that can handle, half of the soccer team? Think about those things. So you want your visualization to take into account the purpose. And without that, you might visualize the wrong thing. The Ferrari that my friend's son was looking at was a two-seater. You don't take that to take half the soccer team to the game. Nice car, wonderful thing for a young man to drive, feel impressive and enjoy it. But if you're a family person and you've got obligations, that's not the right car for you unless it's an alternate car. You still have to have the family car. So you need to think those things through and see how it fits. So one person's dream may not be your dream, and that's another problem that we get into with our visualization. We tend to color our visualization by what we think other people want. There's a phrase, I'll paraphrase it a little bit here, but this is an old phrase, goes back to a French philosopher, I believe, but it says, I am not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. And if you think about that, a lot of thinks in there, if you think about that, you realize how true it is. We spend a lot of time thinking about what other people must be thinking about us. And they mustn't. Okay? We think they must be thinking about us, and we think what it is that they're thinking about us, and we have no idea at all what they're thinking about us. And the truth is, they're probably not thinking about us at all. They're busy with their own stuff. Oh, I wonder what Mary's going to think. And Mary doesn't really think about you and what you're doing at all, because she's busy. A friend of mine had this experience. He was walking down the street, and I'm going to call him John, and his friend Mary was coming up the other way, and he saw Mary, and he thought, oh, that's Mary. I'll speak to her. And just as he would call out and say, hi, Mary, because she was getting close enough, she made a left turn across the street, the other side, and walked up the other side of the street. And he stopped, and he looked, and he thought, what's going on? Did I offend Mary somehow? And he thought about it. And he thought, I don't know that I offended Mary. Maybe Mary's not the person I thought she was. Maybe she's just kind of a snob. I didn't realize that about Mary. And so he didn't bother checking in with her later, or like as he usually did. And Mary thought, oh my, John didn't call. I wonder if he's busy. And John was thinking that Mary was kind of peeved at him for something, and he couldn't figure out what he had done wrong, but it was bothering him. And Mary thought John was not calling her because maybe he's busy, and then he didn't call again, or he didn't, meet in their places they usually met. And she thought, well, maybe I've offended John, and he's mad at me, but I don't know what I did. And pretty soon they weren't talking to each other, and they were even talking to their friends about how the other person, John was saying, oh, that Mary, she's just, oh, man. And Mary was saying, oh, John, he's, oh, wow. And the kind of thing that goes on. And it turned out that Mary was walking down the street that day thinking about some things that she had on her mind. She had some stuff she had to pick up. Her kids were starting school shortly, and she needed to pick up a couple of things for them, and a new pair of shoes for one of them. She was going to have to come up with some money for that later in the week, and she's got all these things on her mind. And then she remembered, oh my, one of the things I want is over there. She crossed the street, down 2 doors, and went into a store because that's where the thing was that she needed. She hadn't even seen John walking on the street. He hadn't spoken out yet, hadn't caught her attention, and she was focused on other things. There was no problem at all, except that Mary was busy. But you see, we can visualize the wrong things, and we can build on what we think other people are thinking about us, thinking about what we do, and we can hold ourselves back. So don't be trapped by what other people think about you. Think through your own visualization in light of what you want, what your purpose is. Share that positively with other people, and I can tell you that they will think good things. Or they won't be interested, and that's okay too. But they won't think badly of you if you think through your purpose and visualize it and think positively about it. Now, I have found, and one little last piece of advice here, I have found that family and close friends are generally not the people to go to for help, praise, accolades, etc. When you lay stuff on them, they're just generally not interested because they're busy with their own stuff. So you need to find people that are interested in what you do. That's why having a coach or a mentor is often good, because even though you're paying them to be there, they're interested in you because, first of all, there's a relationship that started because you pay them. But they get involved in what you do. They get, if they're good at what they do as a coach or a mentor, they get passionate about what you do. It's kind of like you get with your children. You see the success that they're doing, and you often feel better about them than they do about themselves because they're your kids and you've put so much into them getting there. Well, coaches and mentors get to be the same way. I know that when you're working with your clients, sometimes you want more for your clients than they want for themselves. Sometimes you say, oh, if they could only see this. And you get excited about it and you share passionately with them. And some pick up on it and some don't. But if you're looking for, for help and for somebody you can turn to share your successes and, seek out alternatives for your failures, and there will be failures, then a good coach or a good mentor is useful for that. So here's the thing that I say. If you really want something, and not if you just want it, I call some people wannabes. They're always saying, "Oh, I want this. I want to do that. I want," and they want to be. They want to be something. They want to be a coach. They want to be a online retailer. They want to build a real store. They want to, whatever it is. They want a walkaway income so they can sit on the beach, but they don't want to do what it takes to get there. You try to help them. You try to share with them. You try to say, "Hey, try these things." No, I know how I'm going to do that. I got my ideas. Okay. And then they go through those ideas, or they don't. In many cases, they kind of just play with the ideas and never get into it, never turn those plans into procedures. And so they really just want to want it. They don't actually want it. Because if you actually want it, you'll discover an important truth. You have to make change in your life. You have to make room. You have to allow for the thing that you want to come into your life. If you're not prepared to make change, then things aren't going to change. Think about that. I want to be different than I am now, but I don't want to change because I'm comfortable. Then you're not going to be different than you are now. Whatever it is, whether it's doing something, working in something, or being something, it isn't going to happen if you don't make room to allow for the changes that you want. So you have to identify those changes. You have to visualize what it is you want so you can see how it will interface in your life, and then be prepared to make those changes to open up the room for these things to come together. That's why visualization is so important, so fundamental, so foundational to what you're doing. And it's not just about the mechanics of it. It's visualizing how it fits into your life and how you fit into it if it comes to be. You've got to put all that together so you can see the whole picture. I've got a friend that travels around the world, and when he was first courting me for some business, a multi-level business, I didn't get it. I didn't get the concept of what he was doing. I actually later on got in the business, did very well with it, made myself some pretty nice money. But at the time, I didn't get it. It just didn't work for me. I couldn't visualize what he was talking about. And yet there he was traveling all the way around the world. I had every reason why what he said I could do wouldn't work. It can't work because it's this, it's that, there's these. And I had every excuse in the book. And what I realized later was that it was me that wasn't prepared to look at what I needed to do for me to work that business. And when I finally got that figured out, I did really well with it. But initially, when I turned him away, he would send me postcards from places he was at, all over the world, beautiful places, luxury places that he was traveling to and staying and relaxing and enjoying his lifestyle. And he would send me a postcard, and he would tear a corner off it. You know, about a I don't know, a 10 or a 15% corner of the postcard. I'm kind of surprised they sent them through the mail afterwards. But he'd just tear this corner off it, and he'd write on the postcard, "Wish you were here. You're still not getting the whole picture." And you know, I thought it was funny when I first got one, and then I got another one, and then I started thinking, maybe I'm not getting the whole picture. And so I started thinking about it. And then when I got involved and things started to happen, and I did well, I started getting postcards from him that were, you know, no corner turned off anymore, because I guess he figured I got the picture. But that's what you have to do in your life. You have to get the whole picture. You have to visualize what it is you want. But, you know, if you want a watermelon, you don't just visualize a watermelon, because you know what will happen? A truck of watermelons will drive by your house. And you might see it or you might not, but it'll happen. And the universe has satisfied what you did. You know, you pictured watermelon. The universe had a truckload of them drive past your house. Or you'll walk into the store, and the store will have a whole load of watermelons there. Only they'll be pricier than you want to pay today. But if you visualize yourself cutting that watermelon open, serving it to your family, enjoying it yourself, that cold sweetness when it comes out of the refrigerator, if that's the way you like to eat it, or soaked in vodka or whatever it is, your rum or whatever it is you prefer, or chopped up and put into a fruit salad of some kind, whatever you like. If you picture that and visualize that and make that real in your mind, then when you walk into that store, there's going to be watermelons on sale, and you're going to do that. I walk with a cane, and I've got a handicap tag that I can put on the car when I park in the handicap spaces. But I don't usually do that. I leave those for people who really need them. I can walk with a cane, 4 extra spaces, 5 extra spaces from the store, no problem. So I visualize always having a parking space available for me, one with my name on it, 2 spaces over from where the handicap spaces are. Do you know that more often than not, when I go to the store, And we're a small community here, but it's a busy store, believe me. But more often than not, when I go to the store, I pull in, car's backing out of my space, making it available for me. Because I visualize that regularly. The times that I don't find that space is when I'm busy and I'm thinking about other stuff and I got things on my mind and I forgot to visualize my parking spot being available. But I would say probably 90 times out of 100, my parking spot is available for me. And it's one of the key spots that people want to get. And I get it. Visualize. Make it real in your mind, and it will become real in your world. That's what I've got for us today. I didn't notice any questions go by in the chat box, so either I missed them. I'm pretty sure I caught everything that went in there. If any of you have a question, you want to post it, or anybody wants to jump into a seat to chat, I'm going to open that up while we're still on the recording. I'll wait a moment or two, and if you want to come in and share what you're doing and how visualization is working in your life, or how you would like it to work in your life, I'll talk a bit about that and share with you. If not, if you think you've got everything that is cool and you don't want to be on the video, that's okay. I'll stop the video in a few moments. I do want to say thank you for those who were here for the presentation, those who stayed all the way through. I know I can be long-winded sometimes. That's why I try to limit this to an hour. And actually, my book on Wiz's 10 Steps for Staying Focused on Your Objectives, that's about as short as I've ever been able to get in one session. So, you may want to grab that. It's sort of history making. But I do appreciate everybody staying, and for those of you who come on the replay, if you make it to the end like this, I thank you for that. It is, I think, some good material that's being shared. In this case, we're talking about the content of my book, but that's not my content. It's content that's come from greater people that I've met over the years, people that have shared with me. The thing about it is, every one of the 10 steps in that book are 10 steps that I take in my life almost every day. Almost every day. I certainly take some of them every day. Certainly every week I'm involved in all 10 of those steps. And I've used them over and over and over again, so much that they're just naturally a part of my life today. But sometimes I actually sit down and read that book again when I have a major project coming on, just to refresh, to remind me about some things, get a key in my thinking, and then I go and apply those 10 steps deliberately to the project. And it works. Over and over again, it works. For those who may have come in a little bit late, I'll post the link again, I think. I have it handy. This Monday, I'm starting another series, which is kind of hand in hand with this one. It is on Motivational Mondays. It'll run for several Mondays consecutively. I haven't yet determined how many, up a little bit and have it a smaller number, but it's going to be at least 10 or 12 Mondays and probably more. And it's on the law of attraction. I want to get into the real meat and detail of the law of attraction, which is a universal law that affects us all. I've been studying that actually since I was about 14 years old, and I've been applying it in my life, and I've had some extremely good mentors and teachers in that field. Plus, I have researched it extensively, and I think I have something to share there. So please show up on Monday, and if you're interested in success for yourself in whatever you do, because you are using the law of attraction right now, you just don't know it. And you may be using it wrong, which is why it doesn't appear to be working for you. It is actually working for you. And I'll prove that to you on Monday. And then we'll get into how you can make it work better for you. So that's the law of attraction. And here on Focus Friday, next week, we'll get into chapter 3 of my book. And we'll be going into the detail following on from visualizing and especially visualizing your goal, we're now going to get into the planning stages and planning your action. Because if you don't put legs to it, if you don't put action to your goal, it's really still just a dream. And so we'll talk about the specifics of that, and we'll get into that next Friday. So that'll be our week next week. Motivational Monday on Law of Attraction. WordPress Wednesday, we'll be talking about something to do with WordPress. Haven't got a topic yet for it. And then Friday will be on the planning process as it applies to staying focused on your goals. So that's it for today. Thanks, folks, for coming. And I'm going to stop the recording